Right then, hello gang. With my glass of Illusionet Merlot, one of those tiny little bottles in Tesco, because if, like I keep saying, YouTube click-through analytics suggests that people give up in the first 20 seconds of one of my videos, so I have no idea what I have to do. But that's not the idea of this one. I was doing videos virtually every week, sometimes every day, when the first lockdown started, and then sort of gave up around about Christmas. I tried doing one every Tuesday, and then just sort of drifted away from it. This one is different because Tuesday, today, even though I'm recording it on the Saturday, is a year pretty much since the infamous day in the office. And it is incredible to think everything in the past year. I've tried to marshal my memories and thoughts, and it has been a year of what, really? Last March, it had been declared a pandemic in February, I believe, by the WHO, or at least a year ago today. The timetable is what it is, and thereby the first pandemic that this country has met head on in over a century, pretty much almost 100 years, exactly. However, things couldn't have been any more different, have they? Depending on how you look at it, the pandemic, there was probably people at the time that were skeptical, who weren't doing what they were told, who thought it was made up, a hoax or whatever, but it wasn't as widespread a knowledge or opinion, whereas this has. In 1945, or at least a few years in after it, Germans refer to 1945 as Year Zero, Standardnull. Germany, especially Berlin, and places like Dresden, certainly, of course, in May 1945, 75 years last year, during the pandemic, was absolute ruin, and Germany effectively had to start from the beginning. And that's not really the same thing, of course, now, but last year is a kind of Year Zero. Words have entered the vocabulary, the lexicon: lockdown, social distancing, bubbles, shields. My memory of last year is that, like with most things, coronavirus, I first read about, I'm sure, in the paper, and it was buried 8, 10, 12 pages back. It was in the world section of the Times, for instance, and that's usually in the middle of the paper. And then as January wore on, it starts to come close, cases are multiplying in China, and then all of a sudden you get towards March, and there it is. By the time we got to March, I was zeroing in on a year on the tour buses, and it had been a somewhat frantic year in a way. The job started off, I wasn't too optimistic, and then I got going with it, and then you had the horrific busy periods of Easter weekend and through the summer, and then that week between Christmas and New Year's, and it just seemed to be a constant wall of tiredness. The job was just invading every aspect of my mentality. You spend your working week trying to get through it, and then you finish your day and you think, well, I've got to get on a train as soon as I can. If it was a late finish and I had an early start, getting off a train one day at 9, and the next day on a train at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then one day coming home by 7 maybe. But you know, it was all over the place. And January and February, it was more of the same. I was increasingly tired and fed up, and there were other stuff going on. As is the way of things, it happens every so often. It's like a leap day. It seems to happen every 4 years at the moment. I made an absolute flaming mess of myself with a girl, which prompted that usual feeling of you idiot, i.e. me, that is, and you're doomed to a life of solitude, whilst your younger brothers, now in their 30s, early 30s, are entrenched in relationships, and indeed my middle brother's getting married hopefully this year still. It might be pushed back because of the corona virus affecting things. My younger brother certainly will probably be married in the next few years, and maybe even both of them will have children soon. Here I am at the age my dad was when I was born in 1985, the first of 3, and I am in no man's land. The week before it all came tumbling down, I was doing walking tour training with that girl and 2 others, and you know, it was my second time learning changing the guard. I'm thinking, you know, so it's made out there's a lot of pressure. The other guys that do it go, oh, you know, the trainer's just, he gets carried, you know, he puts too much on it. But changing the guard is the walking tour that people like to do. I did 3, I think I only did 3 or 4, no, yeah, I can't think, at least 3 walking tours for the horse guards. And the first one I had 1 person on. The second one I managed to get 5, 4 of them were Germans. And the last one I had 1 person on it again. Actually I did 4 walking tours, but I never had more than 7 people, 7 or 8 people on all of them. And you're taken down the horse guards and you're taken down to the palace by the time the outgoing guards are coming back towards Knightsbridge. And you know, everyone says, my God, you know, you are a few feet, inches sometimes from the horses, and yet everyone goes, you know. And I had people saying, well, I can't believe people don't want to do this tour, because changing the guard, you don't get close. You're 10 feet at the closest. So anyway, we were doing that, and then we got walked up to the city. So I spent all day doing walking tour. And there was a day where me and somebody else went off to do training for a Bond walking tour, which we were going to do for when No Time to Die came out. Apparently everyone at work was coming up to this girl saying stuff. She wouldn't say who it was, but you know, what's going on with you and Matt. And she was having a go at me about that, and I thought, I haven't talked to anyone. Talked to 1 person, and he wasn't the kind of person to blab, so it's in trouble with a working environment. So this is the background. And as it gets into March, you're suddenly aware that things are not what they are. I think my first mention of corona in my diary, or journal, whatever you want to call it, was the 11th of February. And then the buses are starting to thin out. And it's notable because when I started in March, the buses weren't madly busy, but we were going through February with work saying, you're going, you know, we're approaching the busy period and all this stuff. There was talk, of course, of more training days for, you know, more guides coming in. And the thing, as I found out going from March through, I think when I started they might not have changed, but at the peak, you know, from say April to I think it was September, the last bus leaves at 6 o'clock, and not only that, you have 2 starting points. One's at Green Park and the other's at Victoria, so there's always you know, sort of like 2 guys working in tandem, albeit they start and finish at 2 separate places, a separate place to the other. And we get into September, and I think the buses went to 5:30, and then November, December they went to 4:30, I think it was, I forget now. And February we were going back to 5:30, I think, and the idea was, of course, you go back. And yet we were going in, and the buses by the first week of March are at a point that the company is going, well, we can't put the buses back because there isn't a demand or something. And also, from at least October, November into February, we only were starting out Victoria, largely because you know, there isn't a demand in the off season for Green Park, but also Green Park, there was some kind of road work near the stop that was meaning our buses were getting in the way of the TfL buses that were there. And like I say, the mentality by that first week of March, I was struggling with the job. The girl business was sort of rattling away into nothingness. She was buggering off to America. Family's got deep pockets. And how is it? Yeah, by the 5th of March, apart from the fact that seems the virus is making us sparse. And you know, we were getting emails going into that last weekend before the office. That would have been what, the 15th, 14th and 15th, saying, well, we're going to be leaving every half hour, and you know, by March you should be going back to leave in almost every 15-20 minutes. And was it, yeah, we get emails over that weekend saying from Monday we're going to be starting and finishing at Marble Arch, which no one likes because the nearest toilets are either well into the park, up Edgware Road at Pratt, or if you were adventurous enough, M&S, which is almost half a mile from the stop. And it's Marble Arch, you know. And I wasn't looking forward to it. And Monday the 16th, I was scheduled to be going out last. My starting time was something stupid. But the run up to it, my diary goes on for ages, but 12th of March, Wearing Day, Long Last Tour, Bastard Second and Loud People. I all but give up and situation at work is dire. Real possibility of unemployment. We had a weird day on... Let's have a look. Weird day on this. God, my probably should have looked at this on the Saturday. In that you're thinking you're going to do a free tour day because I started at 9:50, and my 13:30 got on the way back. We got stuck at Wellington Arch so long that I got back at 4 o'clock, meaning that I couldn't go out again because the last tour was 4:30. So I buggered off to Covent Garden. But there was this surreal feeling now about the place. You know, the flowers seemed to be like some kind of omnipresent force in the distance. I don't want to over dramatise it, but it kind of felt like, because I've read too much, I suppose, 1940 when the BEF and the being kicked towards the Channel ports and the Germans are just relentlessly sweeping up behind them. You kind of felt like this enemy was approaching. And so that Saturday when I got stuck in the traffic, I was like, nothing matters anymore. What's the point? Me and dear old Hamish, you know, we walked off into the tube together, and I was like, oh, I might see you, you know. The next day was the Sunday. And that's when they were sending out the email about the Marlborough Arch start. Where is it? Tywin Day had James. Decent driver was old James. He would always say the last tour, I'm putting the foot down. And you do a tour in about an hour and a half. Last tour, so it was quick. Had the Jubilee line be up, would have gone to Swiss Cottage. This is it, my God. And I must have got another email because I said it feels me. The route, as I say, was starting at Marlborough Arch, but because they got rid of the orange, which goes from Baker Street down, it does the red route all the way down through Westminster, and then it comes back up to Marlborough Arch and Baker Street. And they got rid of the blue bus as well, which usually starts at Marlborough Arch and goes out west through Kensington Palace and then sweeps up the hotels through Paddington and Bayswater and back to Marlborough Arch. It's basically the hotel bus. And my memory of it is that Monday they said, right, you start at Marlborough Arch, you go up to Baker Street, come back down through Park Lane, you do your red route all the way out to Tower London and back to Victoria, and then you finish at Marlborough Arch. You get off the guide and the driver carries on, does the blue and come back. And I did that first one and it took 3 hours, and along the way I just gave up, as you'll see why shortly. So they changed my starting time to 10:50. It was initially 10, and then I was getting text messages saying 10:50, and I think that may have been the latest start I ever did on the buses, and certainly one of the last starts. And then they said I was doing a tower start on the Tuesday, which meant that basically you go out to the tower and do sort of like a half tour, because once you leave the tower you're heading back west. And I always wrote down from the email my starting times, where I was starting, and that first one took 3 hours. I got off. Old Bazza went to do the rest route, and I saw him like an hour later. I said, Baz, you're back. And he goes, in the end that had taken him 4.5 hours if you included the blue and the rest. And anyway, like I say, I'm starting at 10:50, and I used to go up to Waterloo for coffee, just, kill some time. And also it was very easy because I could get the Jubilee to Green Park in about 5 minutes. Doing it when you have a Marlborough Arch start means you go from Waterloo to Bond Street and over to Marlborough Arch. So it was playing, and at 9:45 we're getting text on the WhatsApp saying so-and-so's, I've been fired, somebody else has been fired. So that my mood by the time I got on that first tour was flat, because my friends are being fired, and during the day other people getting messages saying, could you come into the office tomorrow at 8 o'clock, like these guys had. And so there was this prevailing sort of deaf walk in the corridors. So after that first tour, I buggered off to M&S to get coffee in the old cafe, and I thought I could be back here. And then they said, oh, you still got to do the last tour, which was what, 10 to 5, the last tour, it says here. And that took 2 hours and 35. And I said to the driver, can we not hang around? He goes, people have paid money. And I was like, come on, Eric. I had 3 people at any one time, and I was like, and so that was it. I took out the last tour. And then, no time to go to Swiss Cottage. I went into the pub at Marylebone, which remained shut even after the first lockdown ended. It never reopened like other pubs did. 7:45, and I'm tired. You know, like I say, I've done 7 hours worth of tours, never mind every hours. Boris says no pubs. Fuck it, I will do. Day has worn me thin, and then I'm still writing because I was being distracted by my phone. I wrote 8:minutes. Pub closed, marvellous. A horrendous day, last tour was pointless, 2.5 hours and useless. And on the way home, I got emails and text messages from the management saying, are you able to come into the office tomorrow? And the WhatsApp group is going mental. Everyone's been told to come into the office. And on the basis of the fact that the guys that morning had been called into the office and fired, everyone assumed, well, this is it. Muggins here, though, thinks, well, let's clear it. I said, do you still want me to go to the town? She goes, no, go to the office. And I thought, okay, I'm sorry. Anyway. And the only trouble is they wanted us to be there for 8. And it had been, so it was going to be a 9:35 start. So I always write down the trains that would give me chance. So I was aiming for a 6:24, 6:38 train. And to put into measure how much it changes, look, I was on a train at 6:03. So I've been up since 5 o'clock at this point. Here we go. And well, here we go. Maybe 6 hours sleep, now to see. All summoned to office for 8. Won't be good, whatever it is. Meant to be a virus update, so who knows. And then I got punched in the I laugh because it still makes me wonder. I got out, I was coming out of the tube at Victoria, which the main tube bit leads, the stairs bring you into the station. And I was walking in behind this bloke as people were coming out, and I figured if I was tucked in behind this bloke, I'm out of that if he will be the icebreaker, and I'll be following him. And this bad guy's walking out, and he had his. I suddenly felt this. I suddenly saw him punch a guy in front. I say punch. He was walking with it like a barrel around, and he clocked me. I had a bruise. That lasted a week. I thought, well, that sums it up. The girl in Costa is always quite nice. So I said, "You okay?" And I went, well, I don't know. I could lose my job today. And she's, oh no, well, I hope you don't. All this stuff. She's just being nice, Matt. She's just being nice. Excuse me. The tube was quiet, something I've not had since Christmas Eve when I was the only person on the platform at Baker Street. And then it happens. So we don't need the diary. Well, I don't know actually. Yeah. There was perhaps, if memory serves, about 10 of us guides. Controller or 2, and maybe 5 or 6 ticket sellers. All in uniform. And like I did when there were fire drills and alarms, at 3 o'clock in the morning at uni and halls of residence anyway, I felt the need to crack jokes or at least try and raise humour, and it was just like it was a damn rake. And then they come in and they say, what was the, because Italy at this point was going insane with cases, And Britain wasn't going too badly, but as we saw after March, it did. And then they said, well, we've got to take the unprecedented whatever, and services are suspended. And everyone, of course, is starting to get emotional. I remember G, our controller, one of the controllers, sort of almost, his fate, quite emotional, but he was holding it together. You know, well, how are we going to get paid and that? And then they said, look, we really are sorry, I'll keep you up to date. You know, I'm sorry. We don't know when we're coming back, but, you know, based on what the government said yesterday, we have no choice. It's irresponsible to carry on. So, we go downstairs, we're making jokes, and we stand outside the office, everyone's calling people. I look into Belgrave and I go, well, bye-bye Belgrave, you don't have to do you again, thank God. And sort of got carried away by a surge of humanity into the Wetherspoons, one of the two, and spent, basically alcohol isn't served till 9. I looked at my watch, half 8. I've never drunk in a pub this early in my life, and I don't intend on repeating it. And it just went on pretty much for the next 6 hours. I have no idea what I put away in terms of pints. It must have been at least 5. And apparently some of the guys carried on drinking somewhere up north, Finsbury or whatever. And I, for some mad reason, thinking, well, this could be the last time I'm in London for a while, clattered off to Greenwich. Get back. Still go to Swiss Cottage because I've had coffee. I was so blotto. I had a coffee in Greenwich and it made not a dent. And the thing is, I took the DLR back into Bank with a view of getting the Waterloo and City to Waterloo and then the Jubilee. I think probably easier way of doing it, but I like the Waterloo and City line. And I remember Bank is a labyrinth, depending on what line you're after. If you want the DLR to the tube, you go up, down, sideways, backwards, forwards. And there were kids everywhere, school kids. I'm totally blotto, and I'm like, oh God, somebody's going to think I'm a something or other. And Swiss Cottage, and I was like... And then gradually there's talks of a lockdown. What is a lockdown? And all this stuff. And... long story short, I came up to London the next day to get things out of my system, you know, do some tube journeying and do something like see the Thames, and met my brother for a pint and then went home. And it was weird because the Tuesday and the Wednesday and the Thursday were going to be after that day in the office. The Tuesday was meant to be my days off anyway. So mentally I was like, oh, and I was still waking up early like I did on my days off. And then got to the Friday, which would have been the start of a 4-day stretch. And I was like, I think I may have woke up thinking I'd overslept for work. Or the trainer anyway. And then you're staying at home. I walked into town and shops are changing. Costa became takeaway only. And where is it? Yeah, on the 18th when I got to Swiss Cottage after to meet my brother. Likely the last visit here. Rumours of lockdown, country lockdown. And I just banged on about the tube. Shops are cleaned out. First foot into a job centre since 2011. Tube stations are closing, so stuck in this shithole. The 20th of March, a sense of things winding down. Oxfam closing, shops, coffee, spent money, feel drowsy. And then I put lockdown at the start of the 21st. A slightly weird day, straight into down, nothing to do. Pubs closed. And there's no London. Even going places now is frowned upon if discouraged. Can't face jobs. facing the prospect going mad. Today is merely that beginning. First time all day on the 22nd in this damn flat. How can we keep this up for at least? And that's the thing, you know, these journals from Collins, you know, you can fill a good 9 months worth in it. And I started writing at the top, you know. I started writing on it each day, day 2, day 3, and I think I started from when Boris spoke to the nation and said, this is what's going to happen. And, you know, next thing you know, a week's gone by and another week, and it was hardly surreal. And it's kind of funny, you know, my friend died in April, and then Grandad died in July. Neither of them died from coronavirus. And you get into this, I was a creature of routine anyway, so, you know, you wake up, I go into town, get coffee on my days off and come back. I was waking up, making my coffee, coming over here, and just spend the day sitting on my couch, reading books, watching TV in the background, and going to bed, waking up, going. And I got until July, I was spending 4 days at home, going to town to do shopping, 4 days at home shopping, and then gradually there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Our cases went stupidly high and then came down. The deaths, unfortunately, almost 130,000 people have died. There's everything to be said about leadership probably, but I'm not going to. And then July comes around, and, you know, we're being talked to about with furlough came in April, May time. And that's something else, you know. Furlough apparently has been around for, you know, years, and they're going, well, you know, you're all facing redundancy, unfortunately, because the buses haven't been running. They took back a couple of them. Chloe was one of them, and they said, well, we will offer customer host positions, and you've got to interview for it. You do it on the day, and I did mine on Battle Britain Day, September the 15th, up on a very big. The thing is, I was going to sit at the coffee shop and do it on there, and then I thought, well, I've still got 10 minutes before they call me. I can make it to the museum and do it in the grounds, and it didn't work out that way. We can't hear you, and I said, well, I can hear you. And I thought, this is good, isn't it? And I have never on an interview before this bullshitted so much. You know, people say you got to an interview, but I've always tried to be, you know, I don't beat around the bush, I just say answers. But they're going, you know, how would you do, you know, why are we the best in London, and you know, what do we offer, and what do you think, why do you think you're good for this, and all this. And anyway, out of all those people, me and somebody else got the job, and I felt terribly bad because, you know, Chloe didn't. And I still do. And she was like, well, why did you take the job? I was like, I don't know, I'm an idiot. It's just the way my mind is wired. You know, I have a conscience, even when I don't want a conscience. You know, I just felt terrifically bad. And I tried getting in touch with the girl to see how she is, because, you know, she buggered off to America. And then lockdown happened, and I just wanted to make sure, but give up. Well, no, I don't think that way about her anymore. I'm just trying to be compassionate, you know. Excuse me. Your mind starts playing tricks, and you're suddenly aware just how lonely your life is. I live in this place by myself. I only ever see people when I was at work. I don't have a pet. I've always wanted a cat. Downstairs, apparently are Zumba instructors. So I think I found out 2 days after the office, when I heard thump, and all this bullshit going on. It turns out, you know, they're doing it from home, and they're stuck with it. Zoom calls and Teams and whatever have become the norm. Train stations are eerily empty. I saw pictures of Waterloo in that first lockdown. I have never seen Waterloo empty before. Even when we used to go on day trips or holidays to Weymouth and Portsmouth, and we turn up at Waterloo Station about 6:30 in the morning, and it was empty-ish. There was probably a dozen people, but it still felt like the busiest station in Britain. And then when you lose people, you know, Grandad's funeral only had a dozen of us there. And little things like football, and you know, me and my brother wanted to go see Wickham play a few times in the Championship because they're local to me, and Portsmouth give me heartache like they've done today, but we got through it. But I was cautious because pandemics have always tended to hit, ebb, hit again, and you know, apparently there's a third wave as I speak, advancing across mainland Europe. And you come back, and as I said, I did the interview on September the 15th, and then got told end of September, you got the job. I thought, oh God. Came back to work, whatever it was, first weekend of October. We were doing 3 days. There was only 3 guides, 6 drivers, 3 stops open: Marble Arch, Westminster, and the Tower. If you don't count, the Sign Point, Victoria. And we were running buses every half hour, depending on the day. That was weird. And also finishing at Victoria, usually, right up until March, if you were on a bus that was likely to finish after the last bus, or a certain, or well, if you were likely to finish when the last bus had left, like say even if you left at 4, you were doing a 2-hour tour, and it looked likely you were going to finish after 6, say in the summer, or 5 o'clock, you went to Marble Arch to finish. My tube usage of certain stations like Marble Arch after that first lockdown went down, you know. And then we went into a second lockdown, which no one observed, and we've been in the third lockdown since the start of December pretty much. I've not set foot in London or anywhere but Aylesbury in 3 months, and nobody cares. That first lockdown, shops had people queuing up outside, everyone's kept their distance. Take Tesco. You made the mistake going in there on the Saturday. They claim they're regulating people going in and out, but no. Sure, you've got the red light system. Yes, it must have been up when I turned up because the queue was out. But you go inside once the light turns green, you can't move. You stop to social distance, and people coming up your arse like it's Piccadilly Circus. So wash out. The staff don't give a toss, and also they've got these trolley cages that when they're doing something in the aisle, blocks up the aisle. The word is, we could all be vaccinated by June. It started off at the 90s, 80s. I could be vaccinated soon-ish, maybe a month, 2 months. We've got to live with coronavirus. Black Death never went away, really. It adapted and we changed with it. Technically, Spanish flu is still with us. It mutated into something else. Well, less, it obviously wasn't killing hundreds of thousands like it did, but apparently Spanish flu is still with us. Unfortunately, what is a thing are the anti-maskers and the anti-vaxxers. They can all go to hell. A plague upon all your houses. Would you like to see evidence? There are studies. I have a friend who is a PhD. Well, I have 2 legs, but it doesn't mean I run in a bloody marathon, does it? Worker returning from March 29th. I won't be guiding in until at least April 12th, because they're doing panoramics, pre-bookable, see how many people take it on. My concern is that if we do get busy, I mean, the other guide says she doesn't think we will do, is that there'll only be 3 of us working as guides, and people usually do these tours for a guide. You do get some seemingly Russians who suddenly realise there's somebody talking and they tell you to shut up. It's how other people have done. I think Germans did it with somebody with old Ross, who was like, they kept disconnecting his microphone. He's standing there and the cable was hanging out, and he said, I'll put it back in. And Ross has a kind of very downbeat. He's alright, but he has a very downbeat. And he saw this German guy. I have all the information up here, and Ross is like, yeah, I know, but there's other people I am talking to. And he took out 3 times, and then Ross was like, no, you're off the bus. But what I should have said was, for you the tour is over. So yeah, I mean, the only trouble I've had in that regard is that women got on at Victoria, and we're heading to the last stop at Green Park, and I was talking like this, really quietly, really. And she kept standing up looking at me, and I said, you okay? Because I thought there was something wrong with the seat, or she couldn't hear the commentary or something. You are too loud, you are too loud. And I went, I'm practically whispering. And at the end I got off without saying anything to her. And there's uni coming in September. I am foolishly committing myself to a postgraduate, having no money and possibly no hope afterwards. I have to make this degree work, says Mother. I know I have to make this degree work, but I'm quite capable of putting stress upon me. I don't think she realises how much stress I feel now. So that's pretty much it, chaps. It's gone on for a little bit longer. If you're still watching, thank you. If you don't like it, fine. I will ask you to subscribe, but I've gained my first new subscriber in 3 months, so I'm not really optimistic. The vlogs are not going to be a common theme, especially after I go to Portsmouth, but it's been a tough year, and for those with mental health issues like myself, a very bad year. Not as bad as some people have had it, granted. A lot of families in this country are suffering, but we're British. That used to mean that in times of adversity, you grumble, you bitch, you worry, you're fearful, but you put your head down and you get through it as best as you can, and then you can bitch about it once you realise it's all over. So all the best, eh?